Hello. The Divine Code reading for March 30th, pages 593 and 594. We are in the chapter Laws of Returning Stolen Objects and Restitution for Theft. Continuing in topic number 9. Topic number 9 is if a naturally occurring change, or speaking of here of a change of an increased value of an object that was stolen while it's in the hands of the thief. And such as if the animal is pregnant and it gives birth, or if a sheep is shorn, if wool grows and the sheep is shorn, is it necessary to return the increase of value, the objects that are increased in value, as well as the original object that was stolen? And in yesterday's reading, we're learning the example of if the thief did not despair. The thief was hoping all along to retrieve his lost object. He hadn't given up hope. In that case, he would also have coming to him the shearings, the increase in value, the shearings, or the baby animal, the new animal that was born to the animal that was stolen. If the victim despaired of recovering the stolen animal, so if the victim had the victim who had his animal stolen, if he had given up hope and said that he wasn't expecting to see the animal again, then it then gave birth. Okay, so after the victim had given up hope, it had given birth or was shorn, the thief acquires the offspring or shearings due to the victim's despair. And we see that in Rambam Laws of Theft, chapter 1, topic 11, Laws of Robbery, chapter 2, topics 2 and 6, and Shulchan Aruch, Koshan Mishpat, chapter 354 and 362. An explanation of this ruling, according to the view of the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch, is that according to Torah law, a thief does not acquire any of these benefits since it accrues naturally from the stolen item, and they must be returned to the owner. But to encourage thieves to make amends, the sages enacted that a thief acquires any benefit that accrues from the stolen item after the victim despairs of recovering his loss. So the thief will be more readily agree to return at least the item that he had stolen. And this is also discussed in topics 24 and 31 below. That'll be further in this chapter, and in a similar topic in the same chapter below, for further consideration of this principle by Noahide courts. So by Torah law, by the strict Torah law, the thief is required in either case. If the victim was still expecting to receive the animal back or had despaired, in either case, according to strict Torah law, the thief should return everything back to the owner. The reason why the thief is being given a more lenient situation in the case of where the victim had lost all hope is so the thief would be encouraged to make amends, because it's hard to find a thief once it's a cold case, so to speak. There's no leads. They don't know where the stolen item was. They don't know who took it. In that case, the owner despairs. He says he's never going to see his animal again. In that case, it's very difficult to get the animal back without the cooperation of the thief. So to encourage the thief is given a bribe, so to speak, to being allowed to keep some of the profit, the increase in value of what he stole. And apparently this is a principle that is also encouraged The Noahide courts are encouraged to adopt this principle, according to what's being said here. It's not that it's required. The Noahide courts would not be required to adopt this principle, but it would be encouraged because it's a logical principle that would apply both in non-Jewish as well as the Jewish situation. The thief must return only the actual stolen animal. If it is not possible, for example, if the animal afterwards dies or it was stolen, he repays the value that it had at the time of the theft. For example, the value of this cow that will soon give birth, or the sheep that will soon be shorn. In Koshan Mishpat, Shach Koshan Mishpat 354-3 and Taz in that area. So then the question is, if a pregnant cow might be worth more money than a non-pregnant cow, if he's returning a non-pregnant cow because the cow gave birth, would he also be would he receive the animal, but then they have to make payment for the decrease in value? And that will go in later on in this section. The same law applies if the thief returns a stolen animal that increased in value after it was stolen, while it was in the thief's jurisdiction. For example, the stolen cow that became pregnant, or a stolen sheep that grew more wool, or in a similar case. If the owner had previously, we also see Tor, Seder, Mirid, Eliam, and Shach, Koshan Mishpat, chapter 354, in their explanations of the Rambam's opinion. So that's another angle to this. What if the animal was not pregnant when it was stolen, but then it becomes pregnant, and now the thief is returning the pregnant animal? How is that handled? Who owns the increase in value? Or if he's taking care of the sheep for a period of a number of months, and the wool is grown, so now the sheep is worth more money because it has extra wool on it. That'd be another case of who owns the increase in value. If the owner had previously despaired of regaining the object between the time of the theft and his demand for its return, then the increase in value, for example, of an offspring or added wool, belongs to the thief, even if the victim demanded return of the stolen animal while it was still pregnant or unshorn. So in this case, if it increased in value, if the owner had despaired, and that's a critical issue in these laws. If the owner had despaired, then ownership, at least a certain provisional ownership, goes to the thief. And therefore, during that time, the thief owns the animal, sort of, and therefore any increase in value belongs to the thief. That's only if the owner had despaired. If the object contains an increase in value within itself, for example, the cow is pregnant or the sheep is still unshorn, then by enactment of the sages, in order to encourage repentance and restitution, the thief acquires the increase in value. If the victim takes back the object that increased in value, for example, the pregnant cow or the unshorn sheep, then according to this rule, he should pay the increased value to the thief. And again, this is a rabbinic rule that it's encouraged that Noahide courts would, by logical reasoning, adopt this. And many of these rabbinic laws, and even a lot of the Torah laws that don't directly apply to non-Jews, Noahide courts are encouraged, just as it makes sense, and we should follow the logic of the Torah in these areas. But we're not. Noahide courts aren't necessarily required to, but they should. And in such a case, the owner of the proper owner of the animal should pay the increased value to the thief. If the increased value has been separated from the object while in the thief's jurisdiction, that belongs to the thief. For example, the thief keeps his born calf from the stolen cow that becomes pregnant, or his increased shearings from the stolen sheep that grew more wool. And in return, he need only return the stolen animal itself, as it was at the time of the theft. Rambam laws of robbery 2:6 and Shulchan Aruch Kosher Mishpat 362 7 and 8. If the owner never despaired, in all cases, everything is returned to the owner, with its increased value as explained in the previous paragraph of the topic. So this is only, the increase in value only goes to the thief if it's a case where the owner had despaired. The owner decided he never expected to see the animal again. He said he never expected to see the animal again. And then the animal shows up, he's happy to get the animal back. And the thief retains the increase in value. If the owner had never given up hope, the owner kept looking. The owner would put signs up on the light poles and that, saying, "Have you seen my cow?" So he still expects to get the cow back. Then the increase in value belongs to the owner, and the thief does not get anything back. There are those that differ about this and hold that if in the appreciation in value comes through any change, even a natural one, the object while in the thief's jurisdiction, for example, offspring that was born or wool that was sheared, or the stolen animal becomes pregnant and grew more wool, then even if the victim had not despaired of regarding the loss, it is considered that a permanent change in the stolen object occurred, and the thief acquires the object, the changed object, and all of its increased value. For example, the animal along with the offspring or the shorn wool, the shorn wool. He is only required to reimburse the owner for the value of the object at the time of the theft. See Radvad, Rosh, and Rima, Koshan Mishpat, chapter 354. So there are some opinions that would differ and would say that even if the thief had, even if the owner had not despaired, still held out hope, the thief would still retain the increase in value and is only by Torah law required to give back the original object, the original value of the value of the original object that was taken. If the thief was brought to a Noahide court while the stolen animal was still in its original condition, that is pregnant or still not shorn, and even if the owner had despaired in the interim, since it is not a permanent change in the object, the thief has not acquired it, and he must return it intact. In such a case, there is no change in the jurisdiction of the thief over the item he stole. For example, there is nothing new that developed from the stolen sheep if it was already pregnant at the time of the theft and had not yet given birth. Therefore, it must be returned as is. It appears clear from Mimma Koshan Mishpat 354. So if nothing had changed with the animal, the person had it for a week and it was pregnant when he stole the animal, was pregnant, and it's still pregnant, then he just returns the whole thing to the owner, and nothing is considered changed. Just as if the whatever amount of wool was on the sheep, nothing had changed in that regard, just a little bit had grown, but nothing of substance. He returns the whole thing. However, if the victim despaired and there was an increase in value in the object itself, the thief returns the object and receives payment from the victim for the increased value. Seder Mirit Eliam Koshenis Bishpat 354-2, 362-16 Koshen Mishpat, Shak on Koshen Mishpat 354-4. So if whatever the threshold is, and it probably would be set by the court as to what point, if the thief holds onto the animal for 1 week, and the sheep shears a little bit, I mean, there's a little bit of growth in hair, and the cow's fetus develops a little bit, but this doesn't go over whatever threshold the court determines as being an increase in value. If it's increased in value, whatever the court determines, the increase in value would belong to the thief. If the victim did not despair. Okay, so if the victim had despaired, then the increase in value would go to the thief once it reaches the threshold of being considered an increase in value. If the victim had despaired, then if the victim did not despair, then he does not need anything, does not pay anything at all to the thief, and any increase in value is for any increase in value in the stolen object itself. So if he had despaired, then it belongs to the thief, the increase in value. If he had not despaired, then it belongs to him. So it all depends upon whether or not the owner is like the level of ownership that he's holding on to. If he expects to see it again, then it belongs to him. If he doesn't expect to see it again, it provisionally doesn't belong to him, and therefore changes don't belong to him. Even though if it's found, it does come back to him, but not in the same way as the person who did not despair, who expected to see it again. Thank you.